restoring men in history. We got a request to go over some of these EOs, executive orders, so we will do that. We'll pick like 3 tonight. There's a bunch he's done. He just did them. We just got the information. We've got them here from the White House. He literally just did these yesterday afternoon. So one of the most common, this is from ABA, one of the most common presidential documents in our modern government is an executive order. So let's just introduce it. Every American president since has issued this. Totally, and as of this writing, 13,731 since the great George Washington took office in when? 1789. Media reports of, quote, changes made by the executive order or executive orders to come rarely explain what the document is. What is it? An executive order is a signed, written, or published directive from the President of the United States that manages operations of the federal government. And again, let's just start out this and preface this. Limited government's what we ratified. So if you don't like something that is being done, Kurt, what can you do? And this one's for Art. Art, thanks for asking us to do the EOs. Art out in California. Great gentleman out there. But if you don't like what the Congress or the Supreme Court or the president is doing, the way to handle that is to return to what, Kurt? Limited government that was ratified and the limited constitution that was ratified, right? And reduce and return to the enumerated powers only. But that being said, let's go into an exciting one for us. We have talked about this. One of the ways you judge a president is, does he do what he says? We have that on our motto on the badge. I'm not wearing the badge, but anyway, censorship. Let's get into censorship. We covered this pretty extensively January 20th, 2025. Today is January 21st, 2025. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution. Let's just go into the purpose. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution, an amendment, he says, essential to our republic. That's right. It's essential to the success of our republic. And enshrines the right of you, the American people, to speak freely in the public square without what? Without government interference. Again, this is not for private companies. This is restraining the federal government. And he's the executive in charge, in theory, of all these administrative agencies. And again, if you don't like an administrative agency and it's unconstitutional, ask your congressman to eliminate it and end it and return to the Constitution. Over the last 4 years, again, the First Amendment restrains whom? The federal government, not private companies, the federal government. It's explicit to restrain the federal government. Over the last 4 years, the previous administration trampled free speech rights by censoring Americans. Glad they put it in writing. This is great. A president saying it. On online platforms, often by exerting substantial coercive, we talked about this, Terry Dowdy, the judge, we went through the case, coercive pressure, we just talked about it the other day. The federal government cannot coerce private companies, Dave Sussman, or anybody from free speech and trying to control the narrative. In other words, they can't abridge your free speech. Federal government is restrained from doing that. Let's move on. To moderate, deplatform, otherwise suppress speech that the federal government did not approve. In other words, they want to control the narrative sometimes. Under the guise of, and they come up with all these terms, right? We've gone through them: misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. Oh, what do they really mean? We're going to shut you down and we're controlling the narrative. We're going to tell you what you can read, what you can think, what you can say, what you can see. We're going to control the narrative. We don't like it. You're not going to see it. You're not going to read it. We're going to shut it down. We're the federal big bad government, right? Federal government infringed. He says it right here. They say it. I love that the president's saying this. The federal government infringed on the constitutionally protected speech rights of whom? You, American citizens across the United States, in a manner that advanced the government's preferred narrative about significant matters about public health, your health, of public debate, significant matters of public debate. What did it affect? Your health. How do you make personal good decisions if you don't have any information? And the government's actually censoring and, in fact, giving you bad. They're the ones creating misinformation, pushing a jab that has side effects that they don't want you to know about. Mark Zuckerberg just talked about being coerced. We have the Twitter files. This has been documented. Judge Terry Dowdy said it was Orwellian, 1984, right? Section 2 policy is the policy of the United States, A, to secure the right of the American people, your right, to engage in constitutionally protected speech. This is so important, ladies and gentlemen. Your right to speak freely, and the government to be restrained. Ensure that no federal government officer, employee, or agent engages in or facilitates in any conduct that would unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of any American. C, ensure that no taxpayer resources, and this is good because we found out this was happening, right? No taxpayer resources. Remember when they found out the FBI paid Twitter? I mean, this is crazy stuff, right? Are used to engage in or facilitate any conduct that would unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of any American citizen. D, identify and take appropriate action to correct past misconduct, because we need to know exactly what happened in every way and everyone who did it. Right, Jeff? We need to know everybody who did it by the federal government related to censorship of protected speech. Section 3, ending censorship of protected speech. No federal department, agency, entity, officer, employee, or agent may act or use any federal resources in a manner contrary to Section 2 of this order. They needed to write that. It's down there. By the way, Congress can put teeth in this to do what, Jeff? Punish the people even worse. But let's go. The Attorney General, in consultation with the heads of executive departments and agencies, shall investigate. Yes. We want an investigation, cheers, of the federal government over the last 4 years. Remember Mockingbird? They've been doing this through history. That are inconsistent with the purposes and policies of this order. We need to bring a video on that. And prepare a report to be submitted to the president through the deputy chief of staff. Okay, for recommendation for appropriate remedial actions to be taken. This is authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof. General provision, nothing in this order can be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department. All right, so that's, you got it here, right? This is the number one EO that we wanted to go through. There's a bunch. Now, this is incredibly important in a republic to have free speech, and Donald Trump is doing what he said, and he's protecting your right. Again, who's he preventing? He now has the power. He didn't have to do this. He wants you to have free speech again. He's curtailing the administrative agencies that broke it, that we know broke it. Now, here's the question. Mike Johnson, if you live in Mike Johnson's district, nicely and peacefully and lawfully, talk to him in a nice way, in a kind way, compliment him on something. And then talk to him in a nice way about how he can put teeth to this. Should they lose their pension if they break the First Amendment? I think they should. Should they be fired? Absolutely. They shouldn't be able to damage someone else and take away your ability to hear, see, write things. And what should they go to jail? So what should be the penalties be? Jeff always asks that in the groups. So we're talking to Jeff here. Again, that's EO number 1, Art. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's go on to number 2. Now that's your speech. That's important. Number 2 is about American sovereignty. Here we get into American sovereignty. And what did we talk about 2015 on? Why I supported Donald Trump, American sovereignty. I didn't want to be under the globalists. I didn't want to be under the UN, the NATO. All right, here we go. Withdrawing the United States from the World Health Organization, the WHO. Of course, you know about the craziness they created during COVID and how they did a horrible job. So here, Section 1, purpose. The United States notice its withdrawal from the World Health Organization in 2020 due to the organization's mishandling. He calls it out. I like this. I like that we're calling it out because you got to know about it first so that you, the people, can demand that this occurs. That mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic that arose out of Wuhan, China, and other global health crisis. Its failure to adopt urgently needed reforms and its inability to demonstrate independence from inappropriate political influence. Who do you think he's talking about there? China, right? I love this. This is fantastic. In addition, the WHO continues to demand unfairly onerous payments from the United States. Who's that cost you at the kitchen table? What cost you your American dream? If we don't have American sovereignty, you can't have the American dream as easily. If we don't have American sovereignty, what happens? And we're paying the WHO. Your price of groceries and everything could go up, right? Government spending creates inflation. Big government spending, big inflation. So we want to decrease government spending so you have more purchasing power and the ability to buy more eggs, butter, and whatever you want to do, your choice. And again, the who can do a better job with your health, your local community or the WHO. We have a limited federal government that we ratified. We certainly don't want to be going overseas for health advice, do we, Kurt? I think that's got it. That's for American sovereignty. We, the people, you, the people, and the Constitution. The Constitution and the American people rule America. We're not going to be ruled by the world. The globalists and factions over there have a plan to put us under their thumb with these policies and make life more difficult for you. We're the United States of America. We decide what to do. American sovereignty. All right, let's go on to the third piece. Presidential actions. Again, Trump's a man of action. Putting America first in international environmental agreements. Just seeing the word America first is fantastic. Again, we voted for Americans first, you first, and America first. Not the world. We're not the world. We're America, and we love our country, and we love Americans, and we take care of Americans first. And really, every leader should be doing that, right? China should be trying to take care of Chinese people. Americans should be taking care of Americans. Okay, the purpose. The United States must grow its economy and maintain jobs for its citizens. Just common sense, right? Trump's just common sense here. We should be taking over. NAFTA didn't certainly help American jobs, did it? We called that. It didn't. Over decades, with the help of sensible policies, we've talked about NAFTA a lot, the groups that didn't work. Over decades, with the help of sensible policies that do not encumber private sector activity. All right, we don't want to make it more difficult for you to start businesses by agreeing to these things. We want you to have the choice if you want a V8 to drive, not drive an electric car. We're giving you the choice. We don't want Paris Climate Accords telling you what to do, or anybody over there, or China telling you what to do, or whomever's running that, right? The United States' successful track record of advancing both economic and environmental objectives should be a model for other countries, yes. In recent years, the United States has purported, and again, this is really about American sovereignty. We don't want to be in international agreements that impede your ability to have a high standard of living and live well and make your own decisions. We don't want them telling us what to do. We're Americans. That do not reflect our country's values is a key word. The anti-federalists and federalists fought early on in the nation about values. They didn't even think they had enough in common at the beginning. Imagine, right now we don't have very much in common with England or very much in common with Europe, and we certainly don't align with their values. And you can't have people that don't align with your values and virtues telling you what to do, recommending what to do. They even tell you to pick friends based on that, right? Pick friends that align with your values and virtues. So we don't want international agreements with countries that don't align with our values and virtues. They want to do this crazy stuff and hurt their people. They can. They're sovereign nations. But we don't need to be told what to do by the EU or NATO or the UN or the WHO or any of these international. They undermine our Constitution. But truly they can't. The Constitution trumps all. And it was ratified in a certain way. It is the policy of my administration to put the interest of the United States and American people first. Boom, love it. And that's really what I just said. Every leader should be putting Americans, their own people first. Great leaders should what? Love their people and love their country and put it first. It's just common. This is just common sense. This shows you how bad and negative our leadership has been, that we got so far removed from your interest, the interest of the American people, and being pleased to be Americans and representing America. Our leaders need to represent and take care of Americans first. People first in the development and negotiation of any international agreements with the potential to damage or stifle the American economy. We don't want a worse economy for you and a worse standard of living because of these agreements. Again, and the most important part, though, is we want to control our destiny, American sovereignty. These agreements must not unduly or unfairly burden the United States. They do. These climate accords usually hurt the United States more than China, India, and the reports say they don't even follow it anyway. Want to clean up the environment? Talk to India and China, I always used to say in LA. So these are fantastic for protecting your free speech. Donald Trump protecting your free speech. And you know what happened. And then protecting American sovereignty. And those are two of the main reasons we voted and supported Donald Trump, right? American sovereignty and free speech. Thank you.